When I was 17, like the song, when I was only 17, that's when my mother died. 'Cause my mother was blind for maybe 10 years before she died. From diabetes, they didn't know what it was then. They never knew, see. Bernard Kavanagh. I was born in 1936, July the 21st, in Ferryland. But see, first I worked at a fish plant for a few months, and then I got out of that and I said I'm going to go better. And I went out and I got a berth at the seal fishery. I think I had to be 18 and I was 17. And when I got out there, I ended up as a sailor. I got the most seals on the ship. We had a crew of maybe 200 people, you know.
My Uncle Bernard, when I was a child, was this like larger than life person who I had just heard so many stories. He had been around he was married to one of my older aunts, so he was like the first generation of that family. And so he was like older. He was older when I was a child. And I had just heard all these stories of like, he went out on a seal hunt and bought a truck and he had grade 2 education and he almost died like 7 or 8 times. And it was always these like just fantastical stories of, it just seemed impossible that this person could even really exist, especially knowing that he became a millionaire with a grade 2 education. It never made any sense to me. Every now and then he'd like zoom into our driveway and he had this massive RV. And I think it was the one he had when I was a kid had a leg row on the side of it, which I found out as a musician means very fast. And our driveway wasn't paved, so there'd just be this like flurry of rocks flying everywhere because he always drove everywhere really fast. And he always had money, and he'd give me this like, he'd give me money, like just hand me a 10 or a 20, which was so much money at the time.
I was a fourth engineer on Barring sealing vessel MV Algerine. I remember Bernard. When Bernard came aboard that day, just to say hello to some friends that he knew on board the Algerine, he was himself. He was dressed in very well dressed, in a blue suit of clothes, white shirt, tie, and he looked like a politician. And he spoke in his usual quiet, gentle manner, and he summed up the situation very well, told us where he came from. He just came from Labrador. He had made a lot of money. He had just bought a stake body truck, and he was hoping to do something with it in the spring when we got back from the seal fishery.
And I made $500, put it in the bank when I come in, first 500. And then when I was finished with the seal fishery, I at the seal fishery for 3 springs, hard work. You don't do much washing, you jump in the bed with the blood on.
Kavanagh can tell good stories. He was a good worker, and we had lots of fun with him on board. And he may not have been the first one out of the bunk every morning, but when he got up and got directed for the day, he could do a day's work out on the ice. And he could also jump over the open water holes from time to time. And more than once he got his feet wet, but that was some reward for him, because when he got back aboard, he would go up to the captain and say, "I got wet." And the skipper, we called the old man, would provide him with a drink of black Demerara rum or something. So it was worth getting wet for from time to time.
And then I was coming in from the seal fishery, and I got a job in Greenland, in Narsarsuaq. And I spent a year down there then first. And when they do it, they tell me, maybe a colonel usually, he said, "You move bomber number 62 to another spot." Then I had to ask them, "How do you spell it?" And then I had to get his name, write it down. So I got shifted there. I got promoted, and I made $5,000, a lot of money then. Sent it home to my father. And when I come back, he had it. I bought a truck. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So I bought the truck and started freighting up and down the shore, and no pavement then. Rough times, truck would sink down, day and night. If you died in St. John's, if I died, I wouldn't be here. But if somebody else died, I'd have them as a freight. Then I'd pick up other freight with them, bring them in, lay them down in the patio or on the front of the patio, deliver my freight, and then go with him.
When we came back from the seal fishery that year, Bernard had no experience in business, but we came in early from the seal fishery because we had broken in the bows of the Algerine, and when she was in danger of leaking, and we would lose what we had on board, and the captain decided to come on in. And when we came in, there were 72 men on board, and we hadn't eaten all the grub we carried out, so Bowring's put it up on tender. And Bernard offered a price for the remaining potatoes, turnip, carrot, flowers, milk, sugar, whatever was on board. And Bernard got that at a rock bottom price, and then he hired other people to work with him. So Bernard was, shall we say, a real self-starter, and he had the energy and he had the vision to see that he could do something in that field. And believe you and me, for a man who had no education, you might call it, he says thinks he had grade 2 when he left school. We're not sure.
Well, I was in school all the time and never got ahead. I suppose I was in grade 1 for 3 or 4 years, and then they put me into grade 2, and then I quit because I was always sick, and I had TB. I spent over a year in the general hospital. I was supposed to go to the sanatorium, but I didn't because they were going to take out my ribs, see. And I should have died there, but I didn't die anyway. So I died 7 times and still here. And got over that, and then I didn't go back to school. I helped my father. My father was an old butcher and farmer.
And then he went from there to operating one of the most successful one-man shows on the Southern Shore. So Bernard had the ability to communicate and to win the trust and respect of the people that he dealt with.
It's like when I got that truck, I bought the truck, I just trucked people, freight back and forth to whole Southern Shore. And then I decided to get into wholesale business, and I went down to like Bain Johnson, that's Chris Collingwood's business right now. He's the president. And I got 100 bags of potatoes. And then next week maybe I got 150. And the next week I got 200. And then I got into tea, and I got into butter, I got into beef, I got into everything. And then I got agencies that just come right to my ears. And I often done maybe $2 or $4 million sales a year. I had maybe, sometimes I had about 15 trucks, 25 or 50 men maybe. I had it from St. John's right to Bathy, up and down, day and night. I worked 7 days and 7 nights for 63 years, I say.
I knew he was wealthy, but I also had heard all the stories my whole childhood about how he had almost died like 7 or 8 times. How he had, there was some kind of an accident when he was a kid. People just came out from the different communities, like the Ghouls and Tourist Cove and Mobile and all these places, and they shoveled the road so he could get out to the hospital. And he had TB when he was a child and almost died. And there was this other story about how he drank something. He was supposed to go for a test in St. John's, but he drank the wrong thing because he couldn't read what was on the label, and he almost died from that. And he just had been in all these crazy accidents, and his heart stopped a bunch of times, and he was just this legend.
I had TB. That was a hard one. I survived that. I was pretty sick. And then I got open heart, five bypasses, which is Dr. Melvin. He done that. Done a good job too. And then I had congested heart failure. And then maybe 10 years ago, I had congested heart failure about a year and a half ago, and I nearly died there. I had my leg broke off. I was in a bit of an accident, and I broke it off. When I come to, my leg was up on my chest. So I got over that. Then I turned over a car maybe three years ago. She went head over heels and went right down a drain, down in a pipe, highway pipe. Then I had to stay there till the ambulance came and fire people and get me out of it and took me to the hospital. And doctor said, no bones broken. I said, am I going home? Yep. Jumped off of the couch and went and took it off. That was it. That's all I got, like scratch like that. Like. See? Oh yes, when I broke my leg, see, the road was blocked then. See, road wasn't ploughed then. I know Confederation was just coming in, because when they were taking me away, my mother said, the baby bonus will be here when he comes back. See? And then what they done, they made arrangement. I was 3 days and 3 nights with my leg broke off in a bed. And it's starting to grow over, see? And so we had to get a carpenter in, and he made a splint like that to put underneath her. And so when I got out, I think they had to break it again to get it straight, see? Then they put a cast right in that, right up to that. I was there about 6 months, I suppose. Yeah. And then the roads were blocked, and then what they done, they got a hold of the people in the Ghouls, Bay Bowls, Torsco, Whittle Bay, Cape Royal, Ferryland, to shovel the road. Everybody. And they shoveled it from the Ghouls right to Ferryland to get this snowmobile up. You know what I mean? Because the snow was so high and soft. And that's what they done. They come up and got me in a snowmobile. See, there's no plows then, you know. And there was nothing. If you got 50 people in Ferryland, 50 in Calvert, and 50 in Cape Royal, 50 in Torsco, and 50 in Whittles Bay, and 50 in Bay Bowl, 50 in the Gold. Yeah, that's another time I nearly died, see. Well, I mean, I drank a bottle of castrated oil right there in the house. You know, I had to have tests done. And it was castrated oil, but it was cadaver oil I was supposed to be taking. That was deadly poison. Yeah. So I went in convulsions, and they just got me, doctor home with me. I just got to the health, to the sign. It was hard to get it up, you know. You're supposed to get all that out of your stomach. But that was right dry, see. And it took me about 5 years to get over that. Camphorated oil is for rubbing on your chest. You know what I mean? Like years ago, that's what they use, camphorated oil. If you have a flu, yeah. So didn't do no damage to my kidneys or my head or nothing. But it took me 5 years to get back to reality.
So when we decided to make this documentary, we almost lost him again. He had taken a trip to Nova Scotia and had a heart attack, and somehow ended up back in St. John's, and somehow ended up back at his own house in Ferryland, and collapsed. And they rushed him out to the hospital, and they put him on comfort care, which was brand new information to me. I had no idea this was a thing that they do, but basically at the end of your life, they give you 3 rounds of medication, and essentially it puts you slower, you know, it slows your heart rate down, and by the 3rd one, you die. And so he was on the 2nd round of comfort care when I went to see him at the hospital, and he was just this shell. There was, like, he didn't look like himself. He looked like his bones had all just kind of evaporated, and he was on the 2nd round of comfort care. And I remember his daughter was standing next to his bedside, and she was holding his hand, and she said, "I don't know, Vickie, I think he's really done this time." And I said, "You know, Caroline, if I've learned anything making this documentary, is that if anybody can come back from the brink, it's Bernard." So I wouldn't write him off yet. And you know, we always say when there's breath, there's hope. But I got this text message from my cousin Colin the next day, and this was Bernard sitting up drinking ginger ale and eating crackers. And apparently his heart doctor was getting a kidney stone removed up the hall or something, and came out of surgery and realized that Bernard was down the hall and looked at his chart and instructed everybody to stop the comfort care. So they had to reverse the medication that they had given him. And within, 12, 14 hours or something, he was sitting up in the bed complaining that they were feeding him. He wanted to be able to feed himself. And that was, I think it was like 3 years ago. He survived COVID. He's, I don't know when anything's ever going to take him out.
Greenland, I was there for maybe 2 years in Greenland. It's there's 6 months brightness, 6 months darkness. Big place too. I had 2 jobs, worked day and night. When I go to church, I was getting paid for it. I go to sleep in church. I'd be working at the civilian club Monday night, washing dishes. And Tuesday night, I'd be at the officer club. And then in the daytime, I worked in the laundry. Day and night, that was it. I didn't know much about clubs then. I got in the club and whatever the waiter, I never in the club. It was my life, only young. And I said, whatever she says, I'm going to say yes. So the last thing she said, champagne. I said, give me a bottle. And then I drank it, got loaded. She had to take me and bring me aboard the ship. I come to the next day. The next night, then we went out to Chinatown. See, money over there was guillards, and we had to spend that money, get rid of it. And it's all women, no men. See, all Hitler was in there then. See, the war was just about over, but that's where they fought in Holland, see. They killed all the women and left the men. I mean, they killed all the men and left the women. Yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah, in the club. And she come over, I suppose she wanted me to go home with her, I suppose. And I wasn't used to that in her. And she wanted to say 30 guilders, and I only had 20. So I laughed at it. So that was, went down to North Virginia then, and went to a striptease show. Big redhead one. I was never to one of them either. That was an experience. $1.24. I went to mass and never give a cent. I kept $1.24 for the stripper. Yep. And if I went for something, I got it. If I went for an agency, if I didn't get that before I leave, they would go into me.
How'd you do that? What were your secrets?
But that's it. I had a way of doing it, and I got it. Don't you worry. I could do anything. Take care of the books and price the books and everything's in my head. If the auditor said you're out $50,000, I'd find it.
So you're good with numbers?
Oh yes, good at numbers, yeah. And good making money too.
Well, that helps.
So. Yeah. Well, geez, yes, I lost lots of money. I lost $1 million one time. I lost 300,000 from one man. Don't matter who he is, anyway, it's a Portuguese. So they were in big business and they bought the fish plants. The government had given the fish plants. They didn't buy it. And then they stuck all the business people. But 300,000. And then I lost another 700,000, I say, in bad debts and robbery. I got robbed some often. I come alone, I went alone, I sunk alone. That's the way I went. And I didn't think, but with all that money I lost, I went ahead and done my business and paid my bills. And bank never knew till about a year after. So they called me in. I said, boy, I have everything in place. I'm paying my bills now. He said, he's a survivor, leave him alone. The old bank manager said. I said, you leave me alone, I'll survive, don't worry about it. That was it. walked out. Well, I mean, if anybody wanted to go in business, you know, like, and a lot of people, they have no education or they're poor or something like that. So I was poor and had no money, that's for sure. And get out and take any job that comes up. And if you wash dishes, still money. And you work in the laundry, same thing, you know. And gamble, don't ask no questions. If you're going into something, get in it and do it. I never yet. You ask the question. If I wanted a plane, I get a plane, you know. But it isn't, no. But if I, you know, take on anything, sure to sell it. All you got to do is work. Well, that's it. You're not the boss, you're the boss. If there's garbage to take out, you better take it out yourself. You know what I mean? And then you're no better than him, or he's no better than you. See? Well, we're in St. John's, you know. She's a nice woman, boy, you know. We got married when we were about 20 years old. She wasn't very rich either. We had 7 daughters. And then I started that restaurant. And I still have, that's called a $1 million view. Bernard Kavanagh's $1 million view.
But it's been a real inspiring experience to talk to him and be able to ask him the questions as a filmmaker, how he did it. And it was inspiring because he is so unaware. It was really a pleasure to be able to put something together about his life and give it back to his family and have this like legacy that, you know, it's too late when someone's gone. So I'm glad he's going to get to see it too. And it was just really great to be able to talk to him.
He offered me a job. He wanted me to run.
Who did?
Joey did. Right there, Newfoundland, Labrador. And then he gave it to me, you know.
To Bernard from Joey.
Bernard from Joey.
Oh, wow.
And he make me minister. I said, how long am I going to do? But I agreed to. He said, that's what we have secretary for, he said. I said, boy, I'm doing all right on potatoes. You know.